Got a countdown, Lucas. Tell the sun to cut down.
We're gonna pop a little bit.
Tell the sun to cut down. I think we're live. Hey everybody, welcome to Seed and Soil. My name is Derek, and this is my friend Austin. I appreciate you slumping down a little bit.
I'm tired. I'm trying to make you a little taller.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I appreciate that. Hey, if you're watching on Facebook, let us know in the comments so we can interact with you. We definitely want to make sure that you can hear us and everything's good. This is our first time doing this, so I'm going to be looking at some screens a little bit to make sure we're good. But I do need you guys in the comments to make sure we know that you're watching. So I've got Facebook pulled up and I've got YouTube pulled up, and I think we're good to go. So I'm going to test it real quick, make sure you can hear us. I've got Facebook pulled up. Sounds good to me. I think we're good to go.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody's on here yet, but maybe they'll hop on. Or maybe you're watching this later on, which is totally appropriate, totally fine. And we're glad that you're hanging out with us. You don't look that much taller than me.
Yeah. I'm so slouched a little bit.
Yeah, you just slouch on down. That's fine. So yeah, we're excited to start this live stream and get it going. We've done something like this before, can hear you good. Brooke says, thanks, Brooke. Appreciate that. Brooke Coffin. I don't know who that is, but glad you're here to watch us, Brooke. And yeah. So, anyways, glad you're hanging out with us. So we got some things we want to talk about today and get to know this guy here next to me. So we're glad that you're here. Hey, Miss Lee. Today is Miss Lee's birthday.
Yes.
Luke, also, I do want to give a shout out. Luke, who is another intern that hopefully you'll get to meet on this side of the camera next time we do this, maybe. No. At some point, we're going to talk him into it.
Luke.
If we have to drug him, we'll drug him. I mean, at that point, you got to do what you got to do. But Luke, Miss Lee, she was at the Next Steps. It is her birthday today. So everybody drop a happy birthday to Miss Lee in the comments. She turned 27 today, and we're just so glad that she's here and a part of our church family. So yeah, today what we're going to do is just kind of chop it up with you guys. We're going to, you guys can throw some questions at us as much as you want, and I will try my best to interact with those comments, and Austin as well. Whether it's from YouTube or Facebook. So excited to have you. Excited to have you.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, Austin, we're going to get to know him a little bit today and answer some questions that you may have and just hang out and have a good time. So glad that you're here or that you're watching later. Austin's internship is what it is, and Luke started internship as well. They both joined our team yesterday officially, although they both low-key have kind of been working for the church.
All right.
Unofficially.
Yeah.
Especially Luke for months. Austin it's been attending Impact and kind of threw him into you about a week ahead before you started. Right. So, but Austin, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're going to college, how you ended up here, your focus, your major, all the basic information.
I got you. All right, so I am a 23-year-old senior at Emmanuel College.
Sounds like a Tinder.
It kind of does.
23-year-old senior at Emmanuel College. Okay, maybe not.
Yeah, but I'm from Madison, Georgia. Excuse me. It's from about an hour south of here. Okay. Say some of y'all in Hart County have probably heard about us because we played y'all a while back in basketball.
Hart County?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We beat y'all in the state championship in basketball 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I don't recall.
So it's been a little bit, but I go to Emmanuel College. I'm a senior. I'm a Christian ministries major. I would like to become a youth pastor, just kind of the whole reason I'm here. So I'll be interning with the youth and on Wednesday nights and just I'll be in the office throughout the week. So
excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here.
We met, the first time we met was that I went and spoke at the youth ministry class, right? And seen you there. That was 2020. We were trying to figure out when that was, but I can't remember.
I want to say it was 2021.
It was either 6 months ago or 2 years ago.
Yes,
one of those two.
Yeah.
But I went and spoke at the class, and then later on, it just through connections, we had someone connect us, and I was looking for some help with the youth, and here you are,
There
helping.
I was, exactly.
There he came up and showed up, and it was great. So he's been a huge help. We had our first service with him, a part of that yesterday, and it was awesome. So,
Phenomenal.
Hey, Austin, Miss Lee says in the comments.
Hey, Miss Lee.
Miss Lee is supportive. I think Miss Lee, I feel like you've met him before. I think he's met a bunch of people, so it's hard to remember who all he's met. But yeah, so excited to have him on the team. He's helping with the youth, amongst other things. And then we have our other intern, Luke, who is also helping. He's helping us with the media side of things, technology side of things. He's got all this set up for us today here at the church. And so we get to hang out with you guys for a little bit. So, Austin, last night at Gravity with our students, you got to share your story a little bit. Everybody knows, most people know me, know my story. I've shared a lot about it, but I wanted to hear a little bit about your story. We don't have to go as much as into detail as you did last night, but you did a great job sharing with the students. I thought, what a better way for the people of our church to get to know you than to hear a little bit about your testimony and your BC days and how you met Jesus, and then what's happened since that moment. So I guess on a cold November morning, you came into the world.
Yes.
And
very shivering, cold outside.
Where did you grow up at?
I was born in Covington.
Okay.
Which is about 30 minutes from Atlanta, just east of Atlanta.
Okay.
So I was born there. I ended up moving to Madison, which I've called home most of my life, and I think I was around 5 years old.
Okay.
So, and my brother was 3. I have a brother that's 2 years younger than me. So, and you told us a story last night about how you ran him over. Yes. So when we were about 4, 5 years old ish, right before we moved, right around. I was driving a Gator outside. I think it was right around Christmas. We had just got one, and I was just kind of driving around, and I saw my brother, and so I just decided to run him over. So you say Gator, you mean like an ATV, No, it's not a big one. It's okay. It's like a kid. It's like one of the ones you have like with. I don't know how to describe it, but it has like the bed in the back, but like the seats are right here, but it's not very tall. Okay, I got it. It's not one of the. It's like Corbin has one of these, probably. Yeah, it's one of the ones you have for the smaller kids. Okay, got it. So still doesn't make it any better. Oh, not at all. But the thing is, he didn't even start crying. He just ran after me. He started trying to chase me. Yeah, he hopped in. We're on our way. Are we talking like a clean sweep over him, or clean? I ran over. Did you feel the wheels? Like it was like a speed bump. It's like a speed bump. Okay, yeah. That's okay. So he definitely felt it. If he didn't, actually, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't. My brother loved him to death. Yeah. But so that's what it was like, I guess. Yeah, like you guys. It's crazy. It was funny. I mean, growing up, that's how a lot of it was. Okay. We're just being boys. Just being boys, just kind of chilling. But I'm gonna say easy life, but kind of a prototypical life until I was about 10 years old. That's what I was saying last night. My parents got divorced when I was 10. It really messed me up, especially then because I didn't understand. So I was just I was off, didn't really know what to think about it. Sure. Kind of just confused and didn't know what to do. So, and then it kind of really frustrated me because me and my dad were really close because we're very similar, and I didn't get to see him for a few weeks, and I was questioning that. And I think right around the same time, one of our dogs ran away. So it's tough month. Exactly. So eventually I felt like I started to kind of move on, but then going through middle school, that's probably some of the most angry times of my life. Just kind of just being a kid, that's probably as much of a kid as I ever was. Sure. Kind of just being chilling, but not in a good way. Right. But not doing anything really, you would say bad, but just not. Did you kind of like check out after that for you for like middle school years? You kind of checked out because of what happened? Kind of. And I still did pretty well in school, but it was just more of, I still hadn't really, I thought I'd come to grasp with it, but I really never did, especially because I think. How can you at 10 years old? Exactly. Yeah. I don't want to say what age was I. Either 7th or 8th grade, my mom ended up getting remarried. Okay. A few years after they had gotten divorced. So. Gotcha. That was it was, man. Through this, did you go to, I feel like I've asked you this before and I probably know the answer, but did you grow up in church? Like, were you always involved in church? We were we went like once or twice a month. We weren't some of your regulars, but we also weren't some that just went for the major holidays. Okay. So, but because I grew up in a think it was a Centennial Baptist Church when I was in Covington.
So you had no
And then
desire for ministry, like at
not
that
even
age,
close.
in middle school,
Not
high
even.
school. So how did you come to the Lord?
So when I was, as I told you last night, a good friend of mine passed away during my junior year of high school. And that he was a follower of the Lord. And he just had something different about him. He was just naturally joyful, happy, was involved in many different things. And it just I don't know, it really spoke to me. It really just, I wanted what he had because I didn't possess it myself.
Yeah.
And so that summer, actually the camp he was supposed to be at with us, we had a picture of him with us when we'd meet and stuff because he was supposed to be there.
That's cool.
But we had that up and we were just talking, and I ended up making that decision to give my life to the Lord. And at that moment, I still didn't think anything about ministry. I'm like, I'll be honest, I didn't even know enough about it anyway to really say I would do ministry.
But that was a start. There's something about him that you wanted.
That was that first step. So, and then going into my senior year, I ended up graduating with honors somehow, like I was saying last night. My senior year, I checked
the first
out.
miracle in your life.
My senior year, I checked out. I'll be honest, I was lucky to graduate just because of the one, like you were telling me.
You graduated with honors, though.
No, but the thing is, the one math class I had to take, I'll be honest, without the grace of God from this teacher, I don't think I wouldn't have. Just because I just
look, man, you got to just start saying, "Yeah, I graduated with honors," and you just move on. You know, there's no reason to explain. You just move on.
But and then kind of going into that summer after I graduated, I ended up staying at home to go to college.
Right.
So this led me to get involved in my church back home, which is a Methodist church. So I loved it. The youth pastor, actually, I texted him yesterday asking him what curriculum they used for our own, trying to kind of get a broad spectrum of it.
Yeah.
And then it was just he's been one of the biggest mentors in my life, just I don't know, pouring into me, being a light that I really needed and seeing the potential in me that I know I had.
That's cool.
So, and I'm being honest, and he went to Emmanuel, which really got me connected to Emmanuel.
Sure. So that's when you ended up going to Emmanuel. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so both Emmanuel alumni.
About to be Emmanuel alumni.
About to be. God, yeah, I guess you're not yet.
Not yet.
Close. I just automatically assume you've graduated already, but you actually graduate in May, right?
Yes, sir, I do.
Yeah, as long as you pass, which you haven't passed yet.
That's true.
Your internship, you could fail.
That's true.
I mean, you're 2 days in and have worked about 20 hours, but
yeah, 2.5 days in, already worked about 20 hours.
Yeah, you're already like, I'm ready for a break already. Well,
nah.
So what? Yeah, it's a sabbatical already. Yeah, we love some sabbaticals around here. We'll throw you one, man. Well, I'm glad that you ended up at Emmanuel, which is, if I wasn't tied to Emmanuel, it's crazy how, I don't know if you ever do this, or if y'all two ever do this, but like thinking back, they're like, if that wouldn't have happened and that wouldn't have happened and that wouldn't have happened, then that wouldn't have happened, and the things that God has to put in place for things to happen. Because if I wouldn't have went to Emmanuel, then or reached out to Dr. Trump when the professors at Emmanuel, I wonder if we would have is that who it was? Who did I connect with that? Was it Dr. Trump? I can't remember.
About trying to find some help.
To find some help.
It was Trump.
Because
Trump sent in one of my classes.
There's a professor at Emmanuel that I hooked up with. But if I wouldn't have contacted him, and if I had no connections with Emmanuel, then I wouldn't have known to do that. All that to say. And if you would have ended up there, and it.
Oh, it's just crazy.
And then it was cool last night just to be able to sit in the sound booth and just do Pro Presenter and just kind of hang out, but not have to be the one leading some of the services part. You did all of it. Yeah. Lead the games and the sharing your story and all that. It's cool to see,
Right.
And I told you last night, I was really proud and was encouraged that, and thankful, we needed the help, I needed the help for sure. And so having you on the team has been, it's been awesome. So, and same with Luke. I mean, Luke, the difference between you guys is that Luke's behind the scenes guy, and you're going to have to be more in front of the camera and more in front of people with spotlight. Yeah, I guess. But the other part is that I'm related to Luke. Luke is my little brother, so automatically dislike him a lot more than I like you a lot more, just off the rip.
That's valid.
I mean that kind of part of it. So I'm trying to think, man. I do have one other thing I want to talk about, but just off of Austin's story, we have a few people that are watching on Facebook and on YouTube. Is there any questions you guys have for Austin, or you can welcome him on the team? I see that Brandon Chuck Coffin is joined the live stream. Hello, Brandon, if you're still on there on your lunch break. I know where you're at. You're eating lunch. You're eating pork chop. Guarantee that right now in Elberton at a granite shed called JNR. If anybody's want to know where Brandon's at, that's where he's located. As is my wife. They work at the same place. Cheryl, Miss Clark, hello. Thanks for joining the live stream. Should be a fun one. Should be a hoot to have on here. It would be cool for us to get people in our church to come and hang out and do this. I don't know if any of you guys are scared of being in front of a camera or not, but I forget that it's there. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I kind of did too.
Yeah,
when I was talking. I just gotta make sure y'all can still hear me.
Yeah, we're still there. It's still there. It's still working. So, and then again, if you have any questions or about Austin or want to meet Austin, want to hang out, he's here with me on Tuesdays to Thursdays here at the church office.
I'm here on Mondays too, on it.
Yes, and on Mondays.
That's what I thought.
And on Mondays. Sorry, Mondays through Thursdays, and we're here from 9 to 2. So is Luke. If you want to drop in and get him to make your graphic for your business, he's looking for more things to do. He doesn't have enough to do here. So, Miss Lee, what you doing that face for? We got to get you in front of the camera. Cassie is now here. Cassie is somebody that'd be great to be in front of the camera.
What if we had a big one in the conference room with all
just a big one, just all our whole core team, the whole staff on it? That'd be cool. Cassie, how's life? Hope you're doing great today at work. I hope we catch people on their lunch break.
Hopefully.
That'd be pretty cool. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about, and we won't be live much longer, but I just wanted to mention. So we've been talking about our core values, our DNA as a church. And last week we talked about simplicity and we talked about how simple it is, what God actually wants for us. Then the one thing that's required, sitting at his feet. Cassie says work. Yeah, I feel that. This is work for us, but this is work. Yeah, but this is a lot better than most other people's jobs, I guess. Sorry, we gotta get people to come and hang out with us and be on the podcast. Anyways, talking about simplicity and how simple it is, how the Lord requires one thing from us, and that's sitting at his feet, just experiencing his presence. And if we do that, everything kind of flows from that. Janet said, could you explain youth group on Wednesdays and its ages? We'll do that question first, and then we'll get to the simplicity thing. So, Miss, I can't really see who it is, but Janet, I can't really see your picture, so I may know you, Miss Janet. I'm sorry.
Janet Young.
Yep. Sure. Yeah, we can talk about the youth. You want to talk about it? You want me to talk about it? Yeah. I would love to hear you explain it after. And to give him grace, he did it one night. Well, you've been twice, but
I've been twice, exactly.
Yeah, go for it.
So from what I've kind of seen, especially last night, we had a little meal last night. It was nice, kind of like some fellowship, just kind of getting to talking.
You got to tell them why we had a meal, though.
Oh, we had a meal because last week we didn't have our youth because I think there was just too much going on around. And
yeah.
So, but Derek had promised the kids that he would feed them if they won one of their basketball games. Was it a few weeks ago?
Yeah.
A few weeks ago. And so he ended up having to take up on his promise. You know, these kids, they'll eat anything and they just eat food. So
that's
we ended up having the meal. It was nice, just getting to know everybody, just kind of talking a little bit. And then we went into the fellowship, into the sanctuary, and played some games. I led us in some games, just it's just kind of breaking the ice, getting everybody loose and kind of open-minded.
Yep.
Before we went into worship, we had a few worship songs. I love them. They're so good.
That was a good time.
I love those worship songs. And then I shared my testimony towards the end, and which was really powerful. I was really praying for it to go well. I think it did.
They were definitely checked in.
So, that's really the one thing I was really trying to make sure that I can at least get them engaged, because if they're not engaged, they can't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
So God can still move because he can move anyway.
Right.
But
he did.
It helps. So, and then we closed and we kind of just ended. I prayed us out, and then we really just hung out and kind of talked before all of them went home.
Yeah.
So,
and it's typically the ages, and that's normally the flow of how it works. The ages are for 6th grade up to 12th grade, and it's from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock on Wednesday nights. We normally are here around 5:30, so they can come a little early and hang out if they want. But that's when we start really eating and hanging out and doing things. Right now, I guess I'm gonna make sure I answer the question. Yeah, so that's the ages. So they are broken up, and what we used to do, and we want to implement this again at some point. We need more volunteers to do this. We used to have it, but we need to grow our volunteer team as small groups. So at some point that will be added, so they'll be gender and grade specific, and that'll be how that works. But yeah, I mean, the group of guys and ladies that we have now, a lot of them are upperclassmen, 11th and 12th graders.
Mhm.
A lot of those guys started in our youth with us in like 6th and 7th grade,
Right.
and they're about to graduate, which is crazy.
Right.
So, but it's a great group. I think we had maybe 15 last night. That may be stretching it a little bit.
I think it was. I counted at one point. I think it was like 11, 12 ish.
12, okay. And it kind of is all over the place, but anywhere between
Right.
between
10, 20.
10 to 20, yeah. So if you have a youth or you have a youth, you have a
Yep.
student that wants to be involved, Miss Janet, and is looking for a place to come and hang out on Wednesday nights, that our whole thing is, as a church, is that they don't have to behave or believe to belong, and they'll definitely enjoy their time and also get some Jesus. So yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, is there any other questions? I don't think so. Any questions you got, just drop them in the comments and we'll answer them, and I'll shut up talking and we'll go to your question. So as we were mentioning before, again, Serious DNA, talked about simplicity last week, how it's simple. God just wants us to spend time with him. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time just having a conversation, talking about how important for you, and it's funny because stages of life, right? Like not married, single, ready to mingle. No, not really. I'm just kidding. Single, no kids, obviously, just, living on campus still at the college, totally different stage of life, 23, right?
Yep.
And 33, and been married for almost 10 years, 3 kids, crazy life. And some of you guys, I would imagine, have totally different situations and seasons. But regardless of where you're at in life, the thing that's true, no matter where you're at, is like that time with Jesus is precious.
It is.
So I thought maybe we'd have a conversation. I'd love to hear in the comments for you guys practically what it looks like. Because sitting at the feet of Jesus sounds really great, but you're not, what does that literally look like? Do you have this poster of Jesus and you go and you sit at the feet of, like, what does that actually look like? Yeah. And I think it looks different for everybody. And I know, I hope Cassie's still here. You're welcome, Miss Janet. No problem. I'd love to hear, Cassie, you mentioned one of the things you were doing. If you're still here, you can drop that in the comments. But how you guys spend time with Jesus, what that looks like for you. So Austin, and I'll share for myself as well. But for you, how I'll start with this. How important, since you've started at Emmanuel, has having something separate from school and having this separate devotional time or separate whatever. I know it's kind of required in a way in the SEM, or at least it was. But how important has it been for you to make sure that you're having that time that's just for you and not your homework, as it would be for sermons for me?
Especially, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, like, I think it's extremely important, especially, and I've learned as, like, starting out in the program, it was really hard just because it was different. To be fair, I didn't really, before I came to Emmanuel, I didn't read the Bible anywhere near as much as I should have.
Sure.
I didn't read it, but probably once or twice a week.
Right.
And kind of since I've started, I've really read it. Actually, I've read it every day, especially since, that's the first thing I do when I come to the office. I read it. So, it's just kind of, I don't know, it's just, I feel like it just helps my mindset a lot of the ways. It just it helps kind of maintain my thoughts, because I've realized my mind kind of wavers. It goes all over the place. It's a lot of times the places I know it shouldn't be. And it kind of helps me realize, and helps me I don't know what word I'm trying to use, but kind of
get your mind right.
Yeah, that, and just kind of know who's in control.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know, it's like a mind, it stops my mind from wavering.
Sure.
Especially because I feel like many of us, our hearts are where it need to be, but the mind wavers, and it's what convinces us to what's our heart to kind of flutter.
Yeah, for sure. If we're not spending time with the Lord, then it's like, we're not gonna, like we talked about last Sunday, we're not gonna look like him. We're not gonna sound like him.
You can't expect to either.
You're not around him. It's funny. Luke and I have always spent a lot of time together. My brother Luke, if you're just not joining us, is the guy behind the camera. But we've obviously spent a lot of time together, and oftentimes him and I will say things and do things that sound like each other. And if we're both watching the same YouTubers, like, we'll notice that we'll start. Is this golf channel currently that we do this with?
Good.
Actually, no,
it's not.
No, it's not. It's another one. But we'll start noticing that we're using some of the same terminologies, and it's weird because we're not actually even spending time with the people on this YouTube video. We're just watching a lot of their content, but we start sounding like them and using their phrases, and it's crazy because when you're around somebody, around something, you start adapting it. And I think that's the purpose of, and that's part of why we need to spend time with the Lord, is because only through spending time with Him will we be able to look like Him and sound like Him and live like He did, and which is obviously the goal of being Christ-like. So, right. But I will say, there is this, I don't even know the word, I guess a dogmatic, like legalistic side of it, to where it's like if you don't spend a certain amount of time a certain way, then it doesn't count almost. Okay. I don't know if you've experienced that.
Actually, I had a really good conversation with my dad about that.
Yeah.
Over the break, and me and him were talking about it. And I think starting out, it can be very overwhelming to even read a chapter a day.
Yeah.
Because starting at that, it's kind of usually as you start to read, you end up reading more and more and more.
Right.
But then if you start out at that, you can easily become overwhelmed because you're not used to doing it.
Sure.
And it almost kind of feels like a chore instead of something you want to do.
Absolutely.
So, and he was telling me how he had just started out reading like even just a little passage, even if it's just 10 verses and like a little story. Mm-hmm. And it's how it can almost have the same impact depending on what stage and how new you are to the faith.
Yeah.
And especially like me, I've been trying to read the Bible through in a year. Mm-hmm. So it's just there's just different stages. And I'll be honest, I think they all have the same impact.
They do. And sometimes I think sitting with the Lord, especially if you're reading scripture, right? It's like some days you're going to read it and get a lot out of it, especially if it's new to you. You're like, I don't even understand this. But I think over time, it's like, if we can start seeing reading the Bible as a seed planted, then we stop trying to get something that day. A lot of it probably has to do with culture, which is,
I agree.
We want it when we want it. We accept 2 day shipping with Prime. We want it when we want it. Like, God forbid it take more than 2 days for us to get a package in the mail from across the country, right? Like, the same thing I think when we spend time with the Lord, it's like we forget that when we read the Bible and we understand God's truth and we allow it to speak into our life, then it takes time. Sometimes we may not see the fruit of that or the benefit of that until much later. And I also think you're right. I think we have to stop putting emphasis on the plan. The plan is important. I heard somebody say a couple weeks ago, God doesn't need a plan, but we do. So you have to have a plan. Like, if you're not intentional about it, like spending time with God, like I'm going to be intentionally spend this amount of time. And I personally think it helps to have a same place every day. Like you talk about coming to the office and doing that. If you have a place and you have a time, and even having something that, like for me, it's caffeine in the morning, as I'm doing my study, but like all those things are not only it's spiritual, but it's biological, because you're teaching your body a routine, you're forming a habit. Yep, a schedule. And once that happens, it becomes not a chore. It's just part of your everyday routine. And I do think, and it's crazy, man, because I've known the Lord for, I guess, 13 years now, something like that. And you never stop growing in it. Like it's like you never, it's almost like every time, and I've had seasons where I've struggled to spend time with God, but it's like every time I make it a priority, I realize, man, this is so important. And I learn, and it's almost like, I don't know how to else put this, but it's like I learn how to do it better. Mm-hmm. I guess it's kind of like, being married, it's like, I know Amanda really, really well, but it's like the more time we spend together, I get it. I understand her a little bit better, and right. I guess the same thing happens with God. But yeah, I did want to just throw some resources out there. I think part of it is knowing where to start. There's so many different things to do. You could read through the Bible in 1 year. Maybe that time for you looks like a walk. I know a lot of people that spend time with the Lord in their car. I did want to put a plug, and I did this Sunday, that I did this plug Sunday with this app called Pause on the App Store that I'd recommend. Luke actually just started it and did this first one this morning, but it's like a 10-minute application, 10-minute prayer meditation that gets help. But there's tons of things that can give you those, that can help you spend time with God. I think the important thing is just find ways to do that. So we can dive more into that in another day, but I just wanted to start that conversation again. And whether you're watching this later on or or live right now, definitely leave stuff in the comments that how you spend time with the Lord. And I guess part of this is maybe a reminder. We talked about this last Sunday, but the people that's part of our family, that, revival starts in our hearts. If we want to see it in our church. And so, but Austin, we're so glad to have you be a part of this team. I'm not just saying that on the camera. I've told you that.
I'm happy to be here.
Off camera.
Yeah.
Glad that you're here. Luke, you're okay. To be honest with you, you're all right. You're good enough. Glad that you're here too. Glad you have. We would not have got this set up in time if it wasn't for you making it happen. So thank you. And Miss Lee, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Miss Lee.
Miss Lee, you're great. I want to pray for our church and for people watching really quick. I got time to do that. Your laptop gonna cut off? Cutting it close? What are we working with, Luke? That's all I need. Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for these guys. Thank you for sending to our church family, Austin and Luke. I am so thankful to have them be a part of the team. I'm so glad that they're here. Lord, I pray you would bless them. Lord, and I just, in agreement with our church body, I pray that you would help them grow and get to know you better, that through their ministry here and through their time and their internship here at Impact, that they keep the main thing, and that's a relationship with you. Lord, I thank you for our church and our family. Lord, those that need prayer, Lord, I pray you would touch them today. God, I pray that you would bless our people, God, and bless our community, the churches in this area that are trying to reach others for you, Lord, and the ones that may be in our community that don't know you. Pray that you would help us be a light so they can come to find you and know you. Thank you for the technology to make this possible. And Lord, I do pray that you would grow this platform so that we can reach more people, and grow our church, Lord, that we can reach more people. And we're just thankful today. So pray you'd walk with us today. Help us to keep the main thing in all of our lives, and focused on you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Thanks for watching. I guess we will catch you guys next Thursday at 12 o'clock. Go ahead and put it on the calendar. Get all your fellow employees during the lunch break to tune in, and we're going to hang out and grow together. Love you. Bye.
Bye.